Menopause Natural Solutions, your podcast for all things perimenopause and menopause related. Stay tuned as naturopath Jennifer Harrington explains how to use natural therapies to transform your health and happiness. I'm your host, Jennifer Harrington, and you can probably hear in my voice today that I'm not as healthy as I normally am. And some of you will know I've recently been on holidays. I went on a lovely cruise, but unfortunately on the last night of the cruise, or the last morning of the cruise really, I woke up to a sinus infection. So I apologize for the change in my voice. I am human like everyone else. I do get sick, although I can't remember the last time I was sick. It's probably my turn. But what I wanted to talk to you about today was that unfortunately in perimenopause and menopause, as your hormone levels drop, you're actually more prone to catching infections. So you're more prone to viral infections and also viral reactivation of previous infections, so things like shingles, bacteria and other microbial infections. You're more prone to increased inflammation, autoimmune conditions and cancer. And if you've ever doubted the link between your hormones and your immune system, think of those poor women that get cyclic thrush infections, maybe cyclic herpes outbreaks, or are generally more prone to infections at either ovulation or menstruation, 2 times of major hormonal change. But luckily, there are many things you can do to protect your immune system and to give it a helping hand no matter what stage of life you're in. So what I'm going to go through is just some general factors which you can use on yourself or you can use on your family or friends. And we're going to start with looking at lifestyle factors to help improve your immunity. And these include stressing less, sleeping well, eating well, digesting well, and it's actually really, really important to have good regular bowel movements. I don't think many people are aware, but the vast majority of your immune system is actually located within the digestive system. So if your digestive system isn't working well, ladies, your immune system doesn't have a chance. So it is really, really important to have good regular bowel movements. And breathing well and getting plenty of fresh air. And I actually think this is where I fell down. After over a week of being in the air conditioning, I think that's what got me. My preference is not to sleep in the air conditioning, is to actually be in the fresh air. And that's definitely what I've been doing since I've been home. But also getting plenty of sunshine exposure, getting out there and getting some vitamin D. And while you are unwell, you really want to avoid poor lifestyle choices such as smoking and drinking. Actually, you shouldn't do them at any time, but more so when you're sick, you really want to avoid them. Improving hygiene habits, like things like washing your hands and how you're coughing, because if you are sick, you don't want to spread it around to everyone else. So covering your mouth. And I know these are basic things, but it just blows my mind, the amount of people that don't do it. So cover your mouth when you cough, wash your hands, all really basic but essential items for good immunity. And with exercise, it's about getting the right amount of exercise. So under-exercise and over-exercise are both linked in with reduced immunity. We want to make sure your body isn't compromised by toxic substances such as metals or chemicals. I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but I use HTMA or hair tissue mineral analysis to have a look for toxic metals. And I use the GPL Tox urine test to have a look for chemicals. Unfortunately, we live in a very toxic world these days, and if your body is contaminated, it's not going to be as fit, as healthy, as strong to be able to fight different immune attacks. Another thing to be mindful of is cell-damaging radiation and electromagnetic fields. Unfortunately, I had to fly home, so double whammy on top of everything else, and that there's quite a lot of radiation in flights, especially in daytime flights, which is what my one was. To build a strong immune system, we need to foster positive and happy thoughts. I'm sure you've all heard the old saying that laughter is the best medicine, and I 100% agree. When we're looking at lymphatic movement, I'm not sure whether you've ever thought about this, but in your body you have the heart to pump nutrition to your cells, and you have the lymphatic fluid to move your waste away. So the circulation has the heart to pump it. The lymphatic system doesn't have anything to pump it. It really is moved by muscular contraction. So we want to have a look at possibly dry skin brushing, massaging, stretching, movements. These all help to get the lymphatic system moving. So when you are unwell, like me at the moment, I love to go outside, get some fresh air, and go for a short stroll in the sunshine, just to try and help get my body back on track. I must admit, I do also like the idea of laying down on the lounge and resting, but it's that balancing act between getting in adequate rest, but also getting out there and moving, giving your body a chance to recover. If I need a helping hand, I really, really love both chiropractic treatments and acupuncture. These are both really good tools and techniques that can help stimulate your immune system. They can help you get well, but they can also help you stay well. And I can't move on without talking about body weight, because when we are overweight, obesity increases inflammation, and inflammation reduces immune function. Just something to be mindful of, ladies. Let's quickly move on to dietary considerations. Now, we want to have plenty of antioxidants. Think fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. I've been living off soups at the moment, so not so much the fresh fruits, but the vegetables in my chicken and vegetable soup. That's got to be my staple go-to when I'm not feeling 100%. Any sort of bone broth is also really, really good. We want to make sure that we're staying as hydrated as possible, so plenty of water in there, and water also in the form of herbal teas. Like chamomile is really nice for the throat. You may even want to put a little bit of honey or lemon in there with the chamomile as well. With food, this one surprises a lot of people. I'm always telling my patients, you really need to make sure you're eating adequate protein. And they look at me like I've got two heads. But protein really is an essential building block for new immune cells. Hence why chicken soup is so good for the immune system. But most people, when they're unwell, the last thing they want to think about is sitting down and having a steak. So I'm not necessarily recommending that. But really nourishing, slow-cooked meals. Maybe it's even like a lamb casserole or a beef casserole or chicken soup. Protein is essential if you want to be strengthening your immune system. When we look at things you need to avoid, you really need to avoid man-made, processed, heated fats. And it's really good to get some good fats in there. So maybe you're having some eggs or avocado or olives. We also really, really, really want to be avoiding sugar. So sugar is feeding the bugs. And it's actually supporting the other team, where if you want to support yourself, you really need to avoid sugar because that is the main fuel for all your infections. I wanted to share with you a couple of my favorite hints and tips for homemade remedies. And if anyone's ever sick in my place, I'm making up a flu brew. And not only am I making a flu brew, I'm making a double batch of a flu brew so that I've always got one in the freezer, because if I get sick, I don't want to be making it. I want to take the one that's in the freezer. But if anyone else is sick, I'm happy to make up a fresh batch. And if you're looking for the recipe, that's going to be in the show notes, but I'll talk you through it now. And if there's ingredients that you don't like, well, remove them. And if there's things that you particularly like, then put more of them in it. It's always up to you, and sometimes it depends on what you've got at home. You might have all the ingredients bar one. Well, make it up anyway. Chili is one of the ingredients, and that's something to play around with, and really want to make sure you check the potency and possibly dilute it if you need it. So what I do is I generally grab a litre of water. I grab a knob of fresh ginger, which I grate or I chop up. I grab a chili. I normally grab a red chili that I slice up. I grab 3 cloves of garlic and a freshly squeezed lemon or a lime, cinnamon stick, and a tablespoon of honey. So I grab the water, boil it all up, put my ginger, my chili, my garlic, my cinnamon into the saucepan. I bring it to the boil, I reduce the heat, and I simmer it for about 10 minutes. And then I strain it and add in my juice, so whether it's my lemon or my lime, and a little bit of honey in there to taste, and I drink it hot. And any remaining liquid, let me tell you, there will be remaining liquid, I actually put back into the ingredients and place it in the fridge to drink it later. And warning that the longer you leave the ingredients in there with the liquid, the more potent it gets. So then I highly recommend diluting the remaining batch that you've got with water. Otherwise, it might be a little bit too strong. And this is a fantastic drink for a sore throat. It's really good for blocked up sinuses and just general colds and flus in general. My next tip is to do with salt water. So an H and Ayurvedic technique is actually to do a neti pod or sinus rinse. So when you're pouring salt water in one nostril, out the other nostril, and cleansing the sinus in that way. What I tend to do more of, though, is the saltwater gargle. So don't forget about these old recipes that have been handed down from generation to generation. They're recommended because they work, otherwise they would have gone out of favour a long, long time ago. And when I do a saltwater gargle at home, my preference really is to start with Celtic sea salt. We want a really, really good quality salt. And then you just mix that with some hot to warm water and gargle it. And gargling soothes the throat. It assists in loosening up any mucus or phlegm that may be lodged in the throat area. And it really is that mucus where the bacteria and the other harmful microbes like to live. So the saltwater gargle can help to flush those microbes out and allow for a faster recovery. If I'm looking at supplements, you can't go past a good probiotic. Probiotics help to protect your immune system, and they are antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory. And a lot of this goes back to the gut being the main source or the main location for most of your digestive system. So we want to make sure we've got some good guys in there. That really is our first line of defense. Vitamin A decreases sensitivities to pollutants. It acts as an antioxidant. It improves mucous membrane integrity, and it increases your lymphocytes. So think of them as like your little Pac-Men that are going around and eating up all the foreign invaders. And it generally helps to increase resistance to infections and also to cancer, actually. With your B vitamins, it's your B5. Although with B vitamins, I don't normally recommend that you take them in isolation. I generally recommend a complex. And B5 reduces your body's response to stress. It improves energy levels, and it helps to stimulate your immune's antibody production. Vitamin C. I think vitamin C is going to be the most common vitamin that everybody knows about for the immune system. And how this works is it increases the production of natural antibodies, especially your lymphocytes. And remember, lymphocytes are those little Pac-Men. And it also acts as a natural antihistamine. It is also antibacterial, antiviral, and an antioxidant. Vitamin D. You might not think of vitamin D for your immune system. A lot of people think about vitamin D for bones, but let me tell you, vitamin D, there's not much vitamin D can't do, and it is fabulous as an immune balancer. It helps to prevent infections, but it also helps to reduce autoimmunity. So vitamin D is part of the Treg cells. So they regulate your T cells, which are part of your immune system. Vitamin E is one of the good old strong antioxidants, but it's more as an immune strengthener for prevention and protection rather than actually for when you're sick. Selenium is also in that situation where it's good as prevention. It's a really strong antioxidant, and it's needed to make antibodies. Zinc's probably the second most known nutrient for the immune system. It's a really strong antioxidant. It helps to prevent or protect against cancer. It's a natural antihistamine, and it's just a general strong immune enhancer, again by working on the lymphocytes, but also the T cells. And zinc is specifically antiviral. Magnesium. You guys know I love magnesium, and not many people would link it with immune system, with your immune function, but magnesium is essential for the proper functioning of your thymus gland and for the formation of prostaglandins and in controlling your histamine levels, so think allergies. Calcium is needed by the T cells to battle the invading pathogens, and it's also needed to enable white blood cells to destroy and digest viruses. Manganese is needed to produce your interferon. Lysine is specific for viral replication, and it prevents viral outbreaks, but it also speeds up recovery afterwards. So that's a good one for anyone that gets recurrent viral issues, shingles, herpes, cold sores, those kind of things. When we look at herbs, I bet you know what I'm thinking. Echinacea. It's got to be the most famous immune herb throughout the world. And it's just fantastic. It's great for improving your immunity in acute cases, but also for preventing infections. It's specific for fighting viral and bacterial infections, reducing inflammation, stimulating lymphatic movement, and general healing. But what most people don't know is it's also an adaptogen, which means it helps to reduce your stress response. And it's certainly in my current herb mix. At the moment, I've got echinacea in there. I've got elderflower, which is specific for viruses. I've got eyebright, which is one of my favorite sinus herbs. I've got calendula, or you could also use poteroot, which is really good for glands, for reducing swelling and also acting as a bit of a lymphatic. And I've got pelargonium in there for my lungs and for my cough. But other people like andrographis. I particularly don't like the taste of andrographis. Not that liquid herbs are particularly nice, but if I'm going andrographis, I'll get it in a tablet rather than a liquid. Another quite famous immune herb is astragalus. But astragalus I tend to think of for more chronic problems than acute problems. But there are so many different immune herbs. Elecampane's another one, but my go-tos tend to be the E's actually, the echinacea, the elderflower, the eyebrights. Yes, so I'm almost better. I can hear the difference in my voice. I'm almost there. So hopefully tomorrow morning I'll wake up and be 100% again. You can't keep me down for long, but that's pretty much it for me today. I just wanted to jump on so that I can say that I'm sticking to my word and I'm doing a podcast every week. But just a short and sweet one. I'm off to bed. I'm off to recover. I hope you are all well, and I look forward to chatting to you next week. Bye. Thank you for listening to Menopause Natural Solutions. If you have enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, share, and leave a review. This podcast contains general information about menopause. It is provided as a guide and is not intended to replace medical advice.